I'm sorry I asked you, Yaakov.
Oh, we know what it is. Did the Mets? Is the Mets game over yet? Now we can start.
The Mets won. Yeah.
Mazel tov. But Mazel tov. I want to let you know that everybody is Maker Tov to me that the Mets won. For those that like the Mets, just saying. Because last year and the last 2 years,
definitely in a good mood. That's for sure.
Last 2 years, I had tickets for them, playoff tickets and everything. This year, I said I'm not doing it, and they called me and they begged me. They said, "Come on, buy. We'll give you playoff tickets this year, next year." I said, "I ain't doing it." I asked my kids. I said, "You want the Mets to do well in the playoffs?" They said, "Okay, yes." And then I'm not buying. That's it. Because had I bought, they would have lost. I'm telling you.
Very good. Very good.
I took it for the team. No pun intended.
But Siakam, there's a term for this. It's called cognitive dissonance.
Yeah, I hear that.
Is that from the brain or from the heart? Anyway, from Siakam, I have for tomorrow morning. I have a question. I have a question for you tomorrow. I already spoke to Icky about it this morning.
Okay, we'll leave it for then. All right. Anyways, not such a long daf. So, Kuf Vav Amud Aleph. Continuing with the deals, real estate deals, and on Amud Beis, we'll finally get to the question that I think that's bothering a lot of us with all these cases. But the previous Mishnayos were, he said to him, "I'm going to sell it to you exact," and then he changed his terminology and he said, "I'll sell it to you for not exact." So how do we go with it? So now tonight the Mishnah starts with B'simonov u'b'mitzrov. He says to him, "I'm selling you this field, a base core. That's the standard size field, a base core." And he said, "You'll be able to tell it with its simonim, with its markings, and with its boundaries." Right? He's basically said, you know that field on the corner of da 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 da. I'm selling you that field, and it's a base core. And then, of course, you find out that it's not a base core. So pachas mishtos, if it's less than a sixth, either way, meaning if it's bigger than I said less than a core, but go either way. It can either be bigger than a core, in which case the seller's getting ripped off, or it could be smaller than a core, and the buyer's getting ripped off. So if it's less than a shtus, higiu, then it goes to them, meaning it goes to them, and therefore the sale works. Ad shtus, but if it's up until a sixth, which really means, see, it's hard how to pronounce it, how to describe it. It's more than a sixth, meaning it's meaning up until a sixth, meaning if it's a fifth or a quarter or more than that, then you naka, then you subtract it. Meaning then you have to take it. If it was too much, then the buyer has to pay, and if it's too little, then the seller has to pay. All right, now the Rashbam points out that a sixth over here, as we know, a sixth usually is also a that's considered a ripoff. But that is not the case here. This has nothing to do with Aina. This is just the way the Chachamim. What's the lashon of the Rashbam? Where is it? Right, the last few lines in the Mishnah of the Rashbam in the Mishnah, right? Because karka, we know karka doesn't have Aina. Right? You can charge whatever you want for real estate, so it can't be that the sixth here has to do anything to do with Aina. It's a shiura d'Rabbanan that if the Chachamim figure out that's what a person's willing to be meichel. In real estate, up until a sixth, people are willing to be meichel in both ways. The seller be willing to be meichel, and the buyer happens to be. It's the same sixth as Aina, but we know that there's no Aina by karka. But up until the sixth, we say it's fine. But that's their hashara of what a person would be willing to accept. Okay, but the thing is, the Mishnah talks about less than a sixth and more than a sixth. What about a sixth itself? That's a itmar. Rav Huna Amar shtus kipachas mishtus. So Rav Huna says a sixth is like less than a sixth, and the mechira is considered a good mechira. Rav Yehuda says shtus ki yosem mishtus. A sixth is considered more than a sixth, right? So your classic machlokes is which way, in which direction does exactly a sixth go? Is it less than a sixth or more than a sixth? So Rav Huna Amar shtos kepachas mishtos. Rav Huna says it's less than a sixth. Hachi Kamar. This is what the Mishnah says. Pachas mishtos ushtos bechlal. It says less than a sixth, and a sixth is included. And higiyu, so then it reaches. That's the literal translation, meaning the mechira works. Yosim mishtos, but if it's more than a sixth, Yanaka, then you have to subtract it, right? Fine. That's the Rav Huna. Yehuda Amar shtus ki yosim mishtos. He says no, a sixth is like more than a sixth. And Hachi Kamar pachas mishtos higiyu, less than a sixth, they keep it, and Achtos ushtos bechlal yanaka, up until the sixth, and the sixth included, you subtract. All right. Now there are girsa issues here, whether it's pachas shtos or pachas mishtos. Right. That's the Bach in the Mishnah says, well, he says pachas, right? But it's a whole issue of how exactly you read it, because otherwise there should be a stira, right? I mean, there's a classic way the Gemara says. I don't know why the Gemara doesn't do it here, but that's all based on the girsa, right? If the Reisha says shtos pachas mishtos, that means a sixth is not the din, and if the other one said, and the Sefer says until a sixth, you subtract. So then mashma the six you don't. So you have a stira within itself in the Mishnah. Right? Okay, so then it's all the gears issues, but that's the tumult about this whole thing. Either way, point is Rav Huna holds that a sixth is like less than a sixth, and Yehuda holds a sixth is like more than a sixth. So Meis Veza asks the kasha b'simonov u'mitzrav pichas shtos ay ha'isa shtos harehu keshuma dayanan. If he told him, he pointed it out with simonim or boundaries, and it ended up being less than a sixth or more than a sixth, then it's like shuma dayanan and higiyu, and it works. Now shuma dayanan is that when Yisaimim they have yashin money, and their father owes money. So we're afraid that Yisaimim are going to get ripped off. So they go to Bezdin or experts who evaluate how much their field is worth, and they arrange the sale so to make sure that they don't get the Yisaimim don't get messed over. But then what happens if these Dayanim messed up and they did not evaluate the field that belonged to the Yisaimim correctly? And they only realized this after it was sold. Right? So then the Gemara says similar to our Mishnah. If it was either less than a sixth or more than a sixth, it's like Shuma Dayanim and Igiyu, the whole thing works. Now, what's the question? Shuma Dayanim, so you see, by Shuma Dayanim, what does the price say? Less than a shtus or more than a shtus is Higiyu, the sale still works. Right? And you see that the Gemara says that it's more than that. So l'chayra, it's a kasha on Rav Huna, because it's mashma like that a sixth is like more than a sixth. So then Rav Huna says back, Amalach Rav Huna, according to you, higiyu katani. It says higiyu, meaning it works, right? So, which means that it's the sixth is like less than a sixth.
Isn't the Gemara bringing around that it's like more than a sixth?
Right, but Lamaisa, because it says Heiser.
Isn't it? I mean, I don't know how to read the Brisa, but the Gemara says Shumi Yavim is like Yeser Mishtos.
Correct, but it says Heiser Mishtus. So then, but then it says Higiyu.
Right, I'm saying, but the Gemara is first assuming that it's Yeser Mishtos. It has a din like Rav Yehuda. No. In the Gemara's question, who's the Gemara asking on? Rav Huna or Rav Yehuda?
No, it's asking on Rav Huna. But now Rav Huna is going to answer back. He says, "Well, why is it Higiyu? Why it's Higiyu? It should be Batal if it's more than a sixth, right? Why is Shuma Dayanim again? Shuma Dayanim is a case where the Dayanim messed up in their evaluation. Why is that different than our Mishnah, where the guy just ripped the guy off and he didn't describe his field correctly? Where in our Mishnah we said if it's more than a sixth, the whole mechira is Batal, or you have to pay it back, whichever it is. And how come by the Shuma Dayanim it goes? So that's what Rav Huna is saying. Lamaisa, why is it Higiyu? It shouldn't be Higiyu. It should be Batal. I think that's what it means, right? So I'm sorry. When it says it's like Shuma Dayanim, it doesn't mean it's like Shuma Dayanim in all areas. It's in some ways it is, in some ways it's not. Kishuma Dayanim l'shtus. It's like the Shuma Dayanim, well, like as it has to do with the sixth, right? That it's the same thing. The like Shuma Dayanim, but it's not the same as Dayanim. The ilu hasam batal mekach. By Dayanim, it's batal mekach. Ilu hacha, but here it's higiyu. Right. So Mamela, it's not a stira because we're gonna say that this is not the same din as Shuma Dayanim. Mamela, we can't have a proof which way a sixth goes. Right. So that's that. Fine. That's the harder part of the gap. Now it gets a little easier. Rapapa Zoban Arameu gap. Rapapa bought land from a person on Tommy Bays, Amrale, and he told Rapapa, Havi Esrin Grivi Mashre. It's the size of the field is 20 Grivi. But it was only 15. And he told him it's the size of 20, right? And the Rashbam says it means 20 saw. The Gemara doesn't say what 20 it is, right? But he says 20 saw. And Amlaisa was only 15. So they're trying to figure out Rapapa was ripped off by 25%, right? He thought it was 20 saw. It was only 15. Also, look at Abaya. He came in front of Abaya. Amrale. So Abaya told him, Savras v'kavilas. You thought about it and you were makabel it, right? So you thought about it and you were makabel it. So then it's tough luck, right? So now the Gemara asks, "V'tanan pachas mishtos higiu." We said if it's less than a sixth, the sale is good. Ad shtos yanaka, but if it's up until a sixth, then you have to subtract it. And this is way more. This was 25%. There's a quarter. So then Rapapa is saying, why am I getting ripped off? So Gemara answers, Hani Mili, Heicha Delay Kimle. I guess it's Abaya answering. Heicha Delay Kimle Begava. When did we say that the sale works? That's if you didn't recognize the field. You told about a field. The guy told you it's 20 saw. Said okay. But where it's you know exactly what the field is, then Savar Rekabel. Then you looked at the field, you knew about it, and you Makabel it. So I think, Lanias Daiti, this is a big yesod in this whole thing. Because what's going on over here? Right? These last couple of daf. You went, right, Naftali, a guy comes and before he buys buildings, Hamev and Yovin, I don't know, Naftali is all busy with this, right? A guy comes to buy, see, it's Mamish the daf. A guy comes to buy buildings, you go check it out. Now, good. So the seller misrepresented it, but didn't you see the building? You saw the building. Why can you tie on the guy?
100%. Smart buyers go to the super afterwards, give them $100 and tell me what I really should know.
Yeah. So right. So this guy, meaning the Gemara keeps going for the last 2-3 blot. The Gemara keeps saying, oh, the seller described it this way. Who cares? You knew what you were buying. You saw what you were buying. You agreed to it. So that's it. Right? This is a Pasha Takasha. So that the Gemara is saying, no. And a Chanami, if you taka saw it, then you're stuck. That's what the Gemara is saying here.
Yaakov,
Meaning,
the Taina's on who? He didn't do his due diligence. What's his Taina?
that's exactly what the Gemara is saying. But right, so now that's if you bought the field on eBay, then you could have a tiny, right? Meaning you went in the classifieds. The guy said, "I'm selling you a field that's 50 by 50," and it ended up only being 40 by 40. Okay, you have a tiny. You didn't look at it, right? But here, we're in a place where you knew about it, so then and Hanami, the whole thing is out the window.
I don't think the whole sale is a mekach, no?
Right, but Sabr Makabal.
Who cares if you looked at it or not? The whole thing is a lie.
So that's really the next line in the Gemara, I think. What you ask?
What's the Gemara's argument?
Right, no, but so the Gemara is saying Vaha Esrin Amarli, meaning, good. You thought about the field, you saw the field, you analyzed the field, you stuck with it. That's all nice, but the guy told you that it's going to be 20 and it's only 15. So what does this mean?
I don't understand what that question is. I'm on the opposite side of the fence as Zev.
Right, I understand. So
you're always on the opposite side.
No, but this I really don't understand. The guy lied to your face, and you went ahead and bought it. Now you have a Taina Mekach. What Taina do you have?
Right,
good. You know he's lying.
What are you talking about? The guy sold you.
Put it like we did before in terms of an apartment building. Yeah, let's say there's 10 apartments to a floor, and the guy says, "I have a building that has 200 apartments in it," and you're right next to the building. You see it's 15 floors. Okay, I'll buy it. Well, and then you tie it back. You said 20 floors. You can see. Just look. It's got 15 floors.
It's Yad. I think ultimately, it's Yad. That's ultimately what all these stars come down to.
Yeah, that's
why we go. The seller always wins.
Right. No,
we go with all these different. Like, what does he mean? What does he mean? Ultimately, we're gonna find any Pesach to say the seller is right here. I mean, the Gemara Mama is just to tighten up what he meant, even though he's basically lying, like Gershon says.
No, but so the Rashbam explains it, which again, I don't know if this guy sounds like going full circle here. Sounds like it's my type of. It's like me doing the business here. Meaning, the Rashbam says, "Oh yeah, I know the field was clearly only the size of 15, so not 20. I figured the guy's throwing me in a bonus. He'll throw me in a couple tickets to the ball game. He'll throw me this. He'll that. That's what he thought. He's going to make up the 20. That's the Gemara's kasha according to the Rashbam. Meaning, granted, you took it and you knew what you were doing, but he still has to pay you back something. He told you it's 20. Oh, you're an idiot. So what you said? Yeah, because I thought that he's going to be mashlamit. He'll give me a kickback. He'll give me this. He'll give me that. Right? That's the kasha.
That's not far-fetched.
I don't know in business.
Why is that far-fetched? It's not far-fetched at all. The guy said 20.
He said 20. It's
right.
clearly
so why
not
is it far-fetched
20.
for me not to think that he meant he's going to make it up for it? That's not far-fetched.
Right. I hear. I mean, it's
if
20.
anything, the Lekech makes a lot more sense here. It's just ultimately the Gemara says we're going to find the Pesach for the Meifer.
Yeah, but Lemai said he should have asked the guy to clarify his position.
When there's not clarity, we go bust for the Meicher. Unless it's Mamish and Mekach where it's super clear that the Meicher that this is not what the Meicher said he's selling. We always err on the side of the Meicher. That's what's clear from all these Gemaras.
I don't understand. He says 20 and it's 15. So what's the?
You can see it's 15. The buyer knows it's 15 also.
Right. The question is, what does he mean?
I think the if I'm learning it correctly, there makes the point. There's no confusion with regard to the language. It's not like some Gemaras you had where he said something and he thinks it means one thing and the other guy, the seller thinks it means this and the buyer thinks it means that. The guy told him 15.
The guy did not tell him 15. He knows it's 15. 20. The language is 20, not 15. What does that mean?
I'm sorry. The language is clear. The language is 20. He saw the yard was 15. Okay.
So what does that mean?
Meaning over here, there's no
There's a lot of
There's
ambiguity.
no,
because he
there's no
said something that he
ambiguity
didn't
about
mean.
the language.
Right. The problem is the language here. It's not that what he knows or doesn't know. If I promise you 20, then the question is, how do we touch that up?
Oh, but if he sees the land is not 20. So then
what? He's lying?
Yeah, that's it. Well, yeah, that's it. But that's a different issue. That doesn't have to do with whether the sale is valid. That's what the Gemara is saying.
The Gemara has a havamina that the sale would not be valid. So there's obviously a strong side that we go buster what the Lekach thought he meant.
Right, and we actually do go buster what he thought of what he meant when he doesn't like if the opposite, like if you buy it unseen.
Unseen, you don't even have to go buster his words. You just say if you said 20, meaning it's a question of who do we go towards.
Yeah, but okay, the point of the Rashbam is, and I think it answers Gershon and Zev's questions. The Rashbam is saying, I get this guy, he doesn't say he's not the brightest bulb in the chandelier, but he's a trusting guy. He says, yes, I see the field is only 15, but I figured he's going to throw in some perks. What do you call it? Right? He's going to throw in some things, and he didn't, so now he has to pay. So that's what Gemara is asking. Vaha Esrin Amarli, Amarle, and this is the classic salesman line. Dadifa Kesrin. I meant that the field is as good. He said, I'm telling you, I'll sell you this esrog for $1,000. Oh, but it doesn't look so nice. I'm telling you, it's just as good as $1,000 esrog. I'm telling you, it was blessed by the rabbis. It did this, it did that. Right? So that's what the seller. He said, I didn't say I'm going to give him more money. I feel that this field, even though it's only 15 saw, it's the equivalent of being worth 20 saw. That's the Gemara's answer. Yeah.
Seems like the sale was designed specifically for Papa. If Papa's business was making wine, the better land you can get, he'd rather take a smaller amount with higher value than a larger amount with lower value.
I hear.
Going vines. So they both have good timers. You said 20. No, I meant 15, but it's much better. It's good for you. I designed this for you.
Yeah. Okay, okay, maybe. Okay, so Tanya, now the Gemara gets off a little bit of
and the Ritva says, like any other case, you sell somebody a cup. That's a wood cup, and you tell him it's gold, and the guy sees it's not a gold cup, it's a wood cup. Too bad. He said, no, I just what do they call it? They in business they inflate, or in advertising.
It's called puffery. Puffery.
Legal
term.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a Mishnah, right? It's a Gemara with the gold. Yeah, I don't remember. Okay, anyway, so Tanya, another case. Rabbi Yossi Omer. This has nothing to do with our Gemara, but it'll come up.
Yaakov.
Yeah.
So Moshe Shahayu did at least 20 years ago. Jerry Williams bought a closeout of 10,000 old black phones, plug-in phones, wall phones. And he hired Martha Schiller to do an advertising campaign. These were things that were advertised on Channel 5, 3 o'clock in the morning, those kind of things, right? So Martha even got an award for it, or he was written up in the trade magazines. He came up with the line, the non-cordless phone. Get your non-cordless phone.
Really?
Yeah. Non-cordless phone.
Very good. Very good.
He sold them out and he made a lot of money, Jerry Williams.
Funny. Okay, so this is a field that's non-20 saw being sold as 20 saw. Yeah, okay. So Tanya, Rabbi Yossi Amar, Ha'achin shechalku, brothers that are splitting something up. Kivan sha'ala gairu le'achem. So sometimes the way they split it, they're splitting a Yerusha. So once one of them picks his gairul, and meaning they're splitting it by lottery. So once one of them picks up his gairul, kanu kulam, everybody's kaina, meaning everybody's happy that he picked his gairul. Now he has his portion, and then it's all good. My timer. What's pshat in the Kenyan? So this has to do with a little bit similar to Yom Kippur. Amar Abelazar, Kitchilas Eretz Yisrael. It's like the beginning of Eretz Yisrael. Matchilas begairel, just like in Eretz Yisrael. It was when Yeshua was giving out the land. It was done with a gairel. Afkan begoyrel. So too here, it's with a goyrel. So once one person gets his portion, then everybody else's will fall into place. Well, we're talking about two brothers, so once one brother knows what the other brother is getting, so he knows what his portion is going to be.
Was the goyrel in Eretz Yisrael done? Was everyone kind of? Wasn't the goyrel done for everyone?
Yeah, it was.
Where's the mashma from the goyrel that once one of them is kind of, everyone else is kind of?
Well, I think you can do that because you have multiple people, so they can't be kind.
I understand, but the Gemara is trying to bring a riot to what? This is Dvarim Shutim. What do you need to bring a riot to anything? Why do you need a riot at all? Once one is, it's by default the other person already is kind of correct.
Right.
So what's the riot?
Right. So the Gemara really asks the next kasha is not. It's not exactly your kasha, but it addresses your kasha.
No, but my point is that obviously the Gemara is being mechad or something here. It's not just Stam. The Gemara is saying since by default the other person is getting. I could say that from Svar. I don't need to go bring a riot from the Garl or Yisrael. Obviously, what the Gemara is saying is that even though you agree to a Garl, the default allows you to be koinen, even though there is no opinion that was done. So where do you see that from Eretz Yisrael? Maybe you have in Eretz Yisrael they have to do all of them.
Okay, maybe. I hear. Okay, well let's see the Gemara's next kasha. Because it's saying you can't compare it to Eretz Yisrael, but for a different reason. But it says Imal Alam Bekilpi Va'urim Batumim. There they use the kilpi, which is what we do with when you're on Yom Kippur, right? The Kohen went and for the Azazos, Lazazos, Hashem, right? So you take it with a kilpi, but Urim Batumim, also done with the Urim Batumim. Afkan Bekilpi Urim Batumim. So too here, you're going to say, if we're already comparing it to the way it was in days of Yeshua, so there was Urim Batumim and kilpi, so maybe nowadays too. So which obviously can't be. So Ravashi, Bahu Hana, the Katsaisi Ladadi with the Hana, that the brothers are listening to each other. Gamri Umakni Ladadi, then they're agreeing. Meaning they're masking that it's going to work. Right? Meaning the reason why they need the Urim V'Tumim then was so that in case anybody starts arguing about it, we can say, listen, buddy, this is the Urim V'Tumim is the one that said you're getting this portion. So don't start off with Urim V'Tumim. But nowadays we need something along those lines. So that the two brothers are actually in agreement, that's enough. And they're so happy that one brother says, okay, he's taking his portion, the other one's going to be happy enough, and he's going to listen. Right, and he's going to be happy with it. Fine. So then similarly, Itmar, it says, Shnei Achin, Shecholku, if you have two brothers that are splitting a Yerusha, meaning so two brothers got a Yerusha, everything's happy, they split everything 50-50, all of a sudden, a brother shows up that they never heard of from wherever, from Medina Sayyam. So now what do you do here? Do we just... I don't know, some form
at least in secular world, I think,
a guy just shows up and says he's
his brother.
Yeah, so DNA helps us a little bit, a lot.
But it's funny, the Gemara doesn't really discuss, the Gemara takes it as a given that the guy is a brother. It doesn't have to prove anything, no?
Yeah.
He's gonna have to prove it.
I guess, yeah. We'll see the Gemara more about
because once he's proven it.
Those are Gemaras in where are those Gemaras about how he proves it? Yuvamis, I think Yuvamis, no?
Yeah, and the Yuvamis.
Yeah. So anyway, so these two brothers are splitting it, and then comes along a third brother. Then let's assume that he was confirmed that he's a brother. So now what do? Do you absolve the first Yerusha and start from scratch, or does each one just have to give over a little piece to this third brother? So Rav Amar Batul Machlokes, you split the whole Machlokes, meaning what they originally did gets knocked out and then they resplit it. The Shmuel Amar Shmuel says Mekamtzen. No, each of the two original brothers has to give a little piece from theirs. Similarly, Rav Nachman, the Rav Amar Batul Machlokes, according to Rav, who says the Machlokes is Batul, Alma Hadadina. So you see that a din goes back. Meaning once you realize that you weren't dealing with the full picture, so you start the whole thing again. If that's the case, if you have three people that are standing, meaning you have three people that are partners, and two of them decide to absolve the partnership. So you have three partners, two of them say, you know what, we're just splitting everything and we're all parting ways, as they say. So they can they do that? So hachanami the bata machlokes. Are you going to say the machlokes is batal? Meaning, if you're saying that the machlokes is batal when there's two brothers and then the third one shows up, so you can also have to say when there's three partners that two of them decide to get rid of the whole partnership, then that would also work, and that's definitely not going to work, right? So, but are you going to say that? So the Gemara says,
why wouldn't that work? Why can't two partners move out to a partnership out of three?
I imagine because the third one might wants a say in what he's going to get, no?
Or they have to buy him out.
Or they could buy him out. All right, maybe they can buy him out.
Majority vote.
Right. And then in a Ziploc bag, as tight as you can. So right. So the Rashbam says all this. And it's not talking about where there's a fight over the whole over how the evaluations work. It's just a matter of agreements and all those type of things. You might find this right.
Just don't smash them.
Yeah,
I mean, I think in American law it would be like a stam. There's like a rule for like a stam partnership without an agreement in place. So I think it's funny for me that I guess the question is what is the stam agreement the Gemara is assuming that this wouldn't work with, because it could just be majority. It sounds like it's saying that everyone has to agree.
Rex, every single thing I knew. There was not one thing there that was new.
No, I'm sorry. It does work. I mean, they didn't explain it right. It does work for two partners to what do you call it? Absolve? No, is it a different word? I don't know.
Dissolve.
Dissolve. That's the word. Thank you. Two partners can dissolve it, right? But that's the kasha. Are you saying here? Are you going to say here that if the third partner says I don't like it, are you going to say that the dissolving is no good? Of course, the dissolving is good. Meaning, I didn't explain it right. I'm sorry. Rava's asking, according to Rav, that says the machlokes is batal, meaning when you had two brothers who split the Yerusha, and then the third one comes along and when Bava the whole thing, he says, are you going to say the same thing by a business that has three owners? Two of them come and dissolve the whole business, and then the third one comes and complains. Obviously, we're talking about where everything was split equally, and the third one comes and complains. You're going to say that we believe him? Of course not. So then why are we taking, meaning we're going to believe him, but we're not going to do the whole splitting again. So then why are you doing it by Yerusha? That's the kasha. So when answers Hachi Hashta, Hasam, Nechisi Adaita the Beit Tlosame Kara. There they went down. Nochas means they go down from the word Menucha. Adaita the Beit Tlosame Kara. They were going down. They knew there's going to be three people, right? And they knew that the majority can decide to split it, and everybody's going to take their equal parts. Here, when the two brothers split the Yerusha, they didn't think that there's going to be a third brother. It wasn't even in the radar. So since it wasn't in the radar, therefore they have to restart the whole thing. Meaning when you went down with a partnership of three, so you know that at any time it could be dissolved by the other two, and everybody's fine with that. Here, they didn't know the third one existed, so therefore they have to start again from scratch. So Papa said to Abaye, Shmuel, according to Shmuel, says that you don't redo the whole Yerusha. Each one just gives a portion of theirs to the third brother. The come Dina. Do we say that we say the din stays, that literally stands, even when later on one of the people that's supposed to be getting something from this din doesn't get it? But Rav Shmuel Dami Tabayu, Kur b'shleishim ani moichalach. Right, we had this yesterday. If a guy's selling a field, if he says a core, that's the size of the field. B'shloishim for 30 slime ani marchalach yachal lachsavoy afilu b'sach rayna. Up until the 30th saw gets paid, both sides can change their minds and not do the sale. Kur b'shloishim saw bisela ani marchalach. If he says he changes the terminology, says shloishim saw bisela, I'm selling you rishon kana. Then as each coin gets given, as each seller is given, then it's considered a kinyan, right? But meaning in the first shot, when they says a core for 30, then they're allowed to go back and whenever they want. Right? So then how come Shmuel says that, meaning, so that you have this third brother, it wasn't finalized yet, so then why can't they just change the whole din? Right? So how come it's a kash on Shmuel? On Tamar Aleph, the Gemara says, "Hasam avar rabbanim milsa denichale l'maycha v'nichale l'keach." There, they wanted to do something that was good for the seller and good for the buyer, which means that you want to give them the ability to back out of the contract for as long as they want, meaning as long as they can. But by Yerusha, everybody just wants to settle it before the family feud starts. Everybody wants to sell it, so therefore they're out. Meaning they're very happy to get rid of it right away. So therefore, when the third brother comes around, Shmuel says, we're not going to start with the whole dividing. Each one of you guys is just going to give a piece of yours and finish. Nobody's interested in playing this whole game again. But when it's in a regular purchase, then we want to give them the ability to do this. Okay. Now, Ma'aseh Shahaya, before we stop, Ma'aseh Shahaya from yesterday, it's not exactly this case, but it's close enough. Two brothers and two other Bachrim are getting a ride home from yeshiva on an Uber. Okay? You can't even make this up. His mamish sounds like this stuff over here. So again, two brothers plus two other Bachrim. Now, one of the brothers is the one that arranged it. So he said to the guys late at night, I guess after Rosh Hashanah, I don't know, whatever it was, he said, okay, we're splitting it families. We're not splitting it by people. We're splitting the bill families. So therefore, instead of splitting it 4 ways, they split it 3 ways. Right? You cop what the guy did? So
he ripped off some unsuspecting Bachram. He good. Those very good to do Matzah Rosh Hashanah. Gets a big medal, this guy.
Yeah. So he asked his parents, and his parents said, Givaldik, this is what we're gonna do. Fine. The Bacher agreed. He said he's half asleep. Next day the Bacher comes home and says, What do you guys do? What it shouldn't be split by family, it should be split by Bacher. Right?
Who's paying for it though?
What does that mean? They're all chipping in.
The Bachrim of the parents.
I have no idea what's the difference.
If it's the parents paying for it, it may be different.
Yeah, because the parents are like one. The money's coming from the same place. The parents are the ones that are footing the bill.
Yeah,
it's like one party.
I understand. You're talking about so what I'm saying. Either way, if it's split 4 ways, bottom line is they wanted the other Bacher wanted to dissolve and then absolve themselves from paying that extra bit, right? It's like that, mama's like here. They wanted to back out. I told him, listen, you agreed. What should I tell you? From the time you agreed, when you were half asleep, you agreed to such an arrangement. I mean, I believe the other person should maybe give you back the money, but Lamaisa, you agreed to it.
Yeah,
so,
but see, Yaakov, you're sending your kids in an Uber, right?
That was
You're sending your 2 kids, and then somebody says, "Hey, can I get a ride?" Right?